Hello, hello, and welcome to Games My Guy podcast, the esports podcast by fans for fans. My name is Patrick Aches Avery Kenny, and I'm always joined by the ever beautiful, the headband wearing Ethan Doc Goose Butler. And today we are also joined by a longtime guest.
Friend of the show.
Yes. Our boy, the guy who made our intro song, Bryan Connel, aka Land and Go, aka the man, the myth. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys? It's been a while since I've been on one of these. I know it may not seem like it to the listeners because it was probably only 2 episodes back or whatever.
Yeah, well, and coincidentally, we only have 2 listeners, so that's all.
And you're looking at him.
And I think I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So you may recognize you, but
I don't recognize me. What is my life? Yeah, no, it's really good to be back, and just like all the other times. And,
Yeah, man.
Let's have some fun. Let's talk about some games.
Yeah, well, we're talking about a very, very specific game today, and we're actually here for a little help for our friend Ethan Butler, because he's going on a journey that people did back in like 2010, 2012, just picking up this game and learning it back in its heyday. Arguably its heyday. A lot of people would say it's doing pretty popular right now, but Ethan Butler has decided to learn the game League of Legends.
it's true. I've decided to jump on the bandwagon. I know I'm a little late, but I think it's time. It's time to really show what I'm made of. I think.
Yeah, and as research goes, I think you've gathered two of the greatest esports minds in the world.
I like to think so. I spoke to, I believe his name's, I think you guys, his name's like Tater, I don't know.
Taker sounds right.
Tater sounds yeah. I spoke to him on the phone, and it just wasn't clicking. Like, we weren't vibing well. I think he was afraid of me, and so I thought, who do I know outside of professional League of Legends players who's better than professional League of Legends players who could teach me the game?
Perfect.
I immediately came to these two gentlemen.
Well, we are going to do our damnedest to teach this man about a game that's been around since 2009.
Which I played for the first time a couple months ago. And it didn't go well. So I've restarted my journey a couple weeks ago.
Perfect. Well, we are excited to go on this journey, and I think the podcast is excited to go on this journey with you, learning League of Legends and teaching y'all League of Legends. I guess we should start with where I know League of Legends from and where Bryan knows League of Legends from. Bryan, tell us a little bit about your experience with League of Legends.
Tell us your tale.
Your tale.
So, tale, yes.
Yeah, I'm ready.
My League of Legends journey started when I think it was 2011, 2012 in my friend's basement. So we wanted to take a break from playing Halo, and he had 2 computers, and he was like, oh, there's this game League of Legends that I play sometimes, and I'm like, cool, let's do it. So I went on to the other computer that he had at his house in his basement, and we played together. We started playing. My first character was Master Yi. That was in the free champion rotation.
And what year was this exactly? I'm taking you back.
Oh, those years ago.
I want to say confidently, probably 2011.
Okay. Yeah.
So 2011 was the year for that, because I had known my friend for quite some time.
Right.
So, because originally in 2010, I would go over, we would play Halo, just straight up, it would be Halo all day, every day.
Yeah. Bay.
Bay.
Hey.
2011 we played more a mix of Halo and League, and then 2012, yeah, it was just hanging out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we went off to university. So
yeah, no, 2011, 2012 is when that game was massive. It's huge now still in the esports scene, but it was a big game. Probably one of the biggest games at that time. But yeah, so you learned it through your friends and your friends' PC. Yeah, how long did you play, like, consistently?
It was hard. It was more so in waves. So
Oh, I see. Yes.
So I played a little bit
I
in
think
my
I get that reference.
first year university.
Yeah.
First year university, and I don't know if we ended up playing together. Like,
No. Well, see, yeah, Bryan and I
played in the same social group as you, but when they found out how low of a level I was, that was only like one session.
Yeah. Bryan and I used to play League back in the day.
Yeah.
Being chums at university, me being a year older than you.
Yes. But so I played a little bit in university, but it was more so like League of Legends for me was like a summer game for me because of the amount of time it takes for a game. I would usually do it during the summer because then either in school I'd be working and doing school, so usually I'd re-download it every summer and play it from there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is, like, for someone who has never experienced this type of game before, the game times can be kind of daunting. Like, you're looking at, like, especially like with how games are now, it's like 15 minutes is like the maximum play time in a PvP server for most games. But League of Legends and its ancestor Dota, their games can go from half an hour to an hour to 2 hours. It really ends when the players decide it's going to end. And so you had a lot of time in summer, so that's when you played it.
Yeah, so that was the thing that I wasn't used to, because it was a fun game, but you didn't realize how many hours went by.
Yeah, you play like five games,
and it's already 5 o'clock in the morning.
There's your day. Yeah.
There's your day. Or there's your overnight.
Yeah.
So it's really, I played it during my summers, and then I had other games that I played during the year.
Right on. Yeah. Well, Ethan, you've been playing a bunch, or you've been playing a little bit of League so far. What have you thought of the length of the games, and what have been your first impressions, I guess?
I think in terms of the length of the games, I agree with Landon Go down here that you don't really. I think it's more down to if you're winning or losing. If you're winning, the time melts away and you don't realize that's happening.
Yeah.
But if you're losing and you're somehow just dragging the game out, desperately still trying to win, oh my goodness, do you feel it?
Yeah.
Like sometimes this game is insanely, especially for someone who's new to this game and who's not used to be quite honest, it's such a simple thing as moving by clicking with a mouse. It's such a weird thing to try and comprehend. And like the games do sometimes feel long because like you've described to me in one of my lessons from the professors here is how the game somehow goes in waves. And like so the first part seems like, okay, this is everyone just chilling, hanging out. But then all of a sudden shit hits the fan and like everyone's dying. Like there's stuns everywhere, and like some guy jumped at me from the woods and like I don't get it, and I'm dead and I don't know what I did. All of a sudden I just like, oh, I can get away. Then all of a sudden some guy hooks me from across the map. I don't know, but it's such a weird thing to try and think about. It's such a different experience. Like the length of game, you're right. You feel it, but it's just something that just baffles the mind when you're first starting out. I won't lie.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the first controversies that League had. Everyone felt that the games lasted too long, and that would affect the longevity of the game. But in fact, it has the opposite effect. You have players who really like having these like long kind of like chess games where they can play for like the end game or for late game and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that turned out to be like a big part of the game, is how much time you actually put into it. So you've played a couple characters, Ethan.
Yes.
Is there, and like I know that even just like the style of game is very new to you. But do you know what like this style of game came from? It's from an old soul of a game.
Now, see, I do know of. I don't know if you're talking about Dota,
I am
but it
talking about
kind of sounds
Dota.
like yeah, it sounds like
Yes.
Dota. But
Yes.
I do know what Dota is and like Dota 2 because when I was making I made a documentary about esports fans, which Patrick is in, and we were talking about. I was trying to figure out inspirations for how to go about the film, and you recommended Free to Play.
Yeah.
It was a documentary on YouTube, which I've now watched at least 3 times. It's just so that really introduced me to the type of like this is pre League of Legends Ethan, pre League of Legends Goose, just trying to figure his shit out.
Yeah.
And that really introduced me to what the game could be, I think, and like so how passionate people are and how people go nuts at this game. And so I am familiar with Dota. Like I don't understand it and I don't know how it's played, but like I know who Dendi is. So like I feel like I'm kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like I am I hip at least? I kind of know.
Knowing
I
Dendi,
know that guy.
Yeah, knowing Dendi is important. He's a really big part of like what Dota is today, just from being, at the first couple internationals and just being that personality that pro player. It's really important just for an esports scene as a whole. But the international, like you said, because you were watching Free to Play, the international,
so good. Also, in case anyone hasn't seen it, it's honestly not even just for gaming and esports. It's great to show people what esports could be, but it's also just a really well told documentary about like how it focuses on a couple different perspectives from all over the world and how their families viewed them going into professional gaming and how, especially at that time when esports was not like, a thing.
It's
so
true.
like
It's true.
Like they didn't get it. So watching these guys almost risk it all for like a dream that didn't exist.
Yeah. And the international was one of the first like largest grossing tournaments in esports history. So like prize pool for $1 million, holy moly, like that's the biggest thing we've seen ever. Yeah, and like with that game, like for League of Legends, there was a time where I was playing, doing a lot of the amateur scene. I was a support player with a dream, but it was I showed that documentary to my parents to like try and explain to them what I was trying to do. Yeah, like
what they say.
Well,
did they like the documentary?
They liked the documentary. I don't think they understood what the game was about, but they understood that I thought it was important. So they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's cool." I guess.
Good for you.
So I don't. So as your parents, I don't have to like do anything. You're just telling me you're into this thing. Okay. That sounds fine.
You go get a career there with your games.
Your videos.
We'll support you from over here.
Exactly.
from over here.
Yeah. But yeah, we were talking a lot about you mentioned how there's like waves in a game of League of Legends. I think we should talk about some of like the basics, just to kind of round out your knowledge going into this journey that you're on.
It is tough because just when you start out, when you first log into the game, like you don't understand how it's supposed to be played at all, to be quite honest. Like you can watch the documentary and everything, like even some pro players, but until you actually play it yourself, you don't like. I didn't get it, to be honest. I don't get it now. Of course, I've only played for like 3 weeks. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
But like it's when you're first starting out, you don't understand, especially from when you come from other games, kind of like you mentioned Halo or like Call of Duty or something like that. It's a very different objective in the game.
You understand how to win.
Yeah, like, right off the gate, this is what you need to do. And like say in Halo, it's kill the other team before they kill you. In Call of Duty, it depends on the map type, it defuse the bomb. whatever. You know, like you say Overwatch as well. Like Overwatch, get this card from point A to point B to point C. I can understand that. That works in my tiny brain, my non-wrinkly brain. That's where this works.
My smooth dome.
My smooth sideshow light brain. But
yeah,
big ups to the new Florida Mayhem player. By the way,
the 2-week contract.
Yeah,
that's so good. But no, yeah, so when you're going into a game like League of Legends, this is just coming from my perspective as someone who's new to the game. I kind of understand that what I need to do is destroy the enemy nexus. Like I get that, but that's the most basic way of describing this game is saying, oh, what's your objective in this game? Oh, destroy their base.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like that's explaining it to me like I'm 5 type of stuff.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I can't say that you're wrong.
Exactly, it's not incorrect.
But yeah, you said it yourself. There's a lot of layers, and there's a lot of things to know, and there's a really high skill floor to play this game even. But yeah, so like even things just so in League of Legends, it's usually broken down. A game is like an early game, a mid game, and a late game. These are generally developed around hero power spikes. So when a hero is like the most optimally powerful for its level, and there's different characters that have these power spikes. So you take a character like Nasus, who is this big, like Anubis looking tank who plays in the top lane. His power spike doesn't happen until the late game. Whereas you'll have like an early game champion like Renekton, who's a top laner. His power spike will happen pre-level 6 or even just after level 6. These kind of like character spikes is what makes it an early game, a mid game, and a late game. So you'll have, you'll watch like the LCS and the LCK, and they'll talk about like a late game composition. And so from just from them saying late game composition, that these characters are meant to be played until the late game, until like half an hour, 45 minutes into the game. So they're broken up kind of like that. But the biggest thing is picking a position. And you've been playing like around. You've played a little bit of support. Bryan, what kind of positions have you played, and what have you liked in the past?
So it comes in a few different phases of so when I first started playing, I played bottom lane.
Mm-hmm.
I paired up with a friend and we went bottom lane. Then as I started progressing a little bit more and understanding the movement of the game, I went to top lane.
Mm-hmm.
Then once I got a bit more proficient with the top lane and understanding the minion waves and when to poke, then I went to mid lane. And now as I'm at the current moment right now, I'm really enjoying jungle, because I am understanding all of the routes of the map, and it's just my knowledge is developing more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that the game changes every single time that you play a different position. It's a totally different game, even though you're all working to the same objective, to the nexus. It's an entirely different game. You're pressing entirely different keys in orders and different routes when you are playing those multiple positions.
Yeah.
So I've transitioned to multiple positions. I wouldn't say I main any sort of position or I take a certain position. I like to play with friends, to be honest, and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to have a good time, especially when you're putting so much time into an actual game, that having fun for me is the most important part, because I'm not trying to make it to pro. I just want to have some cool plays and have some fun.
Kill some nerds.
Yeah,
literally. You're not trying to go pro.
Yeah, you're a Sunday night slayer. Have you ever heard that term? I mean, we all are. We all are Sunday night slayers.
Yeah.
You're just out at the pub on a Friday night with the lads, just pounding the beers and the nerds.
And the nerds. Beating up on those nerds.
Just hit them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing feels better than just snowballing, in the jungle, and then just totally just wiping nerds.
Totally.
That's what you got to do.
Listen to this weapon over here. I love it. I love it. I love it.
The apex predator is Landon Jones.
So nails. I love it. Yeah. But yeah, no, the game is really, it is what you make of it. It is designed as a game to be hyper competitive, but they, like playing social games, playing blind pick, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like a lot of people do that in Dota. There's a lot of people who don't even play ranked in Dota, and that's a super competitive game as well. But with all of that, Ethan, do you have any like major questions that's been burning in your head, or anything that you've noticed about the game?
One thing, because I've been also doing a written series about this. One thing I made note of, it's just
for
like
the gaming house.
Yeah, for the game house that I write for. Is it's called Learning Lead a Noob's Journey, but it's another story. But no, it's the one thing I made note of.
You know what I was gonna name this it was Learning League and the Ethan Butler story.
Please do.
That's what it's gonna be called. Do. For sure.
But yeah, no, there's a minor detail I made note of, that when you come from playing, because we've been playing together, like a game called I'm not sure what to say, like people don't know, a game called Overwatch for a couple of years. Like, it's a new game.
Pretty indie, obscure.
You may not have heard of it. It's like it's such a, like, only the cool guys know about it. It's fine.
90% of this podcast content.
Don't worry about it. We're super niche. But no, there's one little detail, because in that game, obviously you don't move by way of mouse. You move with the WASD keys, right? So that controls your movement. So that's how my hand, like if I have my hand go to the keyboard, my hand will automatically go WASD with my pinky on shift and my thumb on the spacebar.
Right.
That's just how my hand fits on the computer now. It's a claw, the gamer claw, I call it. And so, but now I've had to shift, because you move with your mouse and by clicking, and you activate your abilities with QWER, I believe.
Yes.
And now you have to shift your hand. It's such a minor detail that really getting this into my head helped me just a little bit. Was moving my hands from WASD to QWER.
And also your hands are doing the exact opposite of what they were doing if you're playing Overwatch.
Exactly.
Right? So your movement is now completely on your right hand, your mouse hand, whereas your abilities are all in your left hand. So I do sympathize with that. It is a big shift.
It's a weird feeling initially.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially having to balance out ability usage with that. With things like mana and stuff like that is something I'm kind of new with.
Yeah.
It's just getting used to things like that. But for questions, I still struggle to understand, I won't lie, like it's like the dragons and stuff like that. I don't understand. We talked about like buffs and things. I don't understand when they happen. Every so often in the game, like a wave, literally, not even like a wave of minions, like literally water seems to come across the whole map. And I don't know what's happening. It just there's a color shift. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
No. And then I hide, and then there's I don't know. The bushes. It's just so much.
Well,
so much is happening at once.
Yeah. Well, Bryan, do you wanna answer a few questions that you might know about, since you like to jungle? Like what is a buff? What is I'm just gonna pull one out from what I was hearing from Ethan. What is a neutral buff in the jungle?
To be honest, I want you to explain that.
Sure, yeah.
Explain it really horribly. Like I can do like the dragons and
totally
and all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
I can understand like, and I can explain it in a way that like a lot of people understand. But the regular buffs, like, I
Totally.
just honestly, I'm looking to develop myself and squash some nerds.
That's
so
buddy, that's what we're all trying to do. That's what we're all trying to do. Yeah, but like neutral buffs, especially, it's most important for junglers to know. Second most important is mid laners and supports. Top laners, they don't usually get buffs unless it's a team choice. It's like a tactic decision based on the team. But generally, what you're looking at is you have a red buff and a blue buff, as they're called. Super easy to remember. So the blue buff is the one that gives you like mana regen. Yeah, exactly. Ethan. Just blue and red.
Me and Landon are the buffs.
Exactly. And
you are
purple.
And I am a lane. These
are all. You are the laner.
I'm glad we're all making visual jokes again. That's my favorite. That's my favorite meme from this podcast. We just make so many visual jokes.
Yeah.
You guys don't see it?
Yeah. So yeah. So you have the red buff and the blue buff. The blue buff is the one that gives you mana regen. So when we were talking a little bit about leashing, which is a interaction that a jungler and another player will have where they hit a minion together, which saves resources. So it saves cooldowns from their spells, but it also saves resources in terms of time because you can do it quicker, and the jungler's health. So the jungler is healthy enough to walk to the next camp of minions and kill them. That all being said, the buffs, so that's the blue buff. The red buff is it has a burn and a damage boost. So it has like a burn like Ignite. You remember the summoner spell Ignite? Ethan?
Me?
Yes.
No, I also kind of spaced out for a minute. Can you go over blue buffs again?
Oh my god.
I was listening. His voice is so calming. I just kind of got so relaxed. And I was like, I was just staring at him. And I was like, oh my goodness. And next thing I knew, he was talking about red buffs. And I couldn't remember if he got over blue.
Okay,
refresh.
Super fresh. The only things you need to know is the blue buff builds your blue meter, your mana. Yeah, and the red buff means you deal more damage.
Go for the red one then.
So the red one is normally used in the late game. It's normally given to the bottom lane's attack damage carry, the ADC.
I will admit, I've heard the term AD carry, and I didn't actually know what it meant.
Yeah. So it's attack damage carry. So when you hear ADC carry, that's someone saying attack damage carry. So it's not a thing at all.
No.
But yeah, so red buffs do a little bit of more damage. There's the buffs are mirrored on each side of the map, and it's separated by the river. So the enemy team also has a set of a red buff and a blue buff. So their jungler is also doing the same thing with their team, trying to manage getting those buffs. These buffs are also on timers. So from the moment that you kill a buff, it's on a timer, and it's global. So everyone can see it if you have vision of that monster. I don't want to get too complicated.
I didn't know about that vision part.
Yeah. So if you have vision of a jungle camp when it's taken down, you will also get the global timer as well, so that you can keep track of it.
So you know how we're asking you to place wards the other day?
Yes.
Wards
is vision.
Yeah, so wards gives you vision, and honestly, the more vision, the better is the common saying for League of Legends. But yeah, it just starting super basic. Those are the buffs that you'll find in the jungle. There are other creatures in the jungle, so you'll see like a raptor camp, which are these like little birds, and then you'll also get a wolf camp, and you'll get the Krug camp, and you'll also get the toad. I can't remember his name, but there's a bunch of different ones in there, and then you also get the larger buffs, which are the Baron buff and the dragon buffs. Have you heard of those before?
I have, yes. I remember before we started playing, I was doing like just a little bit of preliminary research. Like you can do like, I think if you go to the League of Legends website, you can. There is almost a step-by-step guide of how the game is played.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember dragons and Baron being mentioned, and I also recall there's a video League of Legends put out a couple of years ago called "Our Sport," I think it was called. It's like 3 minutes long, and it's just talking about how it contrasts people who didn't believe esports was a sport with just showing the evidence of how massive League of Legends actually is,
Right.
and like esports is. And one of the plays that was shown in that, it was like three guys, clearly the casters, I think, standing around the computer. Like, it's supposed to have been like a big game, and all of a sudden, like, they show a clip, and I think you did this once in game 2, is when you stole a dragon or a baron from someone.
Stole the Baron. Yeah, I did
Yeah,
do that. I'm
you did,
very
and we were
proud
very
of
hype
that.
about that. And I remember, and that's what they freaked out about. They're like, "Oh, he stole the eye of the dragon!" And like, I don't remember. I'll try and find it at some point. Yeah, well, it's not a hard to find video. Find it's a really good video, but so that's one of the things I know about dragons is people get excited.
Is that
when
they're
you steal
epic?
them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the dragon buff and the Baron buff are huge team buffs. So what's different about that from a blue buff and a red buff is that the blue buff and the red buff only gets applied to the person that kills it.
Okay.
So if the jungler gets the last hit on a blue buff, he receives the blue buff. But if someone else does it, they get the blue buff. Whereas with Baron, it's whoever is alive gets the buff if you kill it. So if you are, I don't know, you're super ahead and you decide to take the Baron on by yourself and you kill it by yourself, your entire team benefits from you doing that. And what it does is it beefs up the minions' health in the lanes when you're with them. It also beefs your damage to turrets, and it also increases your health as well. So it's a big kind of like end game. If you were to try and find a way to like win the game, getting the Baron and pushing the enemy Nexus is a perfect way to do that. It's like it gives you all the benefits that you'll need to survive a team fight, and it also gives you the sieging ability to destroy the Nexus.
And so when you destroy, I think I know this as well.
Yeah.
When you destroy, okay, there's Nexus, and then there's like the things around it.
The
turrets,
inhibitors.
Yes, when you destroy an inhibitor, super minions, I believe, spawn, right?
Yes.
I know. In some of my research, I remember reading that, and they just looked like little, tiny, slightly bigger minions. Like they're just little guys, but like they're still but they just look bulkier. They've worked out a little bit.
Yes.
And so they're a bit more dangerous. So you want
a little
that.
Spicy.
Obviously that'd be good. You
do want that. You want them pushing onto the enemy base. You don't want them pushing onto your base.
No.
That's a no. That's a big
Unless you just want to flex on some fools. So you let them in, get them destroy one inhibitor, and then all of a sudden, clap.
Claps. Done. Exactly.
Win.
I'll make sure to put that in my playbook there.
This is why I am the coach.
Yeah, this is why me and the League of Legends God Tracker are at odds, because you have better ideas.
We have a different philosophy on how the game should be played. He believes it should be played well, and I don't know how to play it.
Yeah.
That was a little weak.
It was perfect. But yeah, I mean, League of Legends, it's a game that you just gotta play. The more you play, the more you'll pick up on the nuances, the more you'll find characters that work for you. But picking a role, unfortunately, like, you can't just queue up and pick whatever you want. You need to pick a role. But that comes with a lot of self-discovery and looking inside yourself and deciding, hey, I really enjoy this part of the game, so I want to do this, or I really enjoy these type of characters, I want to play these type of characters. And each position has its own benefits, and it has its own problems as well that you face. You've been playing a lot of support recently, right?
Yeah, I started out when I did the tutorial, I think I did Master Yi
Mm-hmm.
in honor, of course, of my sweet prince Landon Go.
Yeah.
But
the Master Yi God.
the Master Yi God.
Yes.
And so I thought I was not. I'm not gonna lie. I was just slapping kids around. I was having a great time. I thought I was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But then you remember those are robots and they're here to train you. So of
Yes.
course they're gonna slap them around. And so
Yeah.
I thought when we played the game, I was like, okay, I kind of get Master Yi. I'll play him.
Yeah.
I think we lost like real bad, like within 10 minutes. People were saying surrender, and I was like, why? No, we can still win as like they're swarming our base.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I didn't find success with Master Yi.
Fair.
And then I kind of understood the second character. The first character I actually understood. Okay, when I say understood, is that I could kind of play them. It was Tristan, I believe it was, the little tannin.
Yes.
Even then, I didn't really understand too well because like you were saying, yo, use this ability, jump on them, but I did and died, and then because I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I played that for a bit. It just wasn't working. Like, I just was starting to get frustrated and felt that you feel down on yourself when you start to feel that you're playing poorly because this is a competitive game. So you playing, you can only want to learn for so long before you actually want to win.
Exactly.
And you feel like you should be winning right away. But
yeah.
I know that's not going to happen, but you want to win. And so when it's not happening, yeah, it's frustrating.
Really important, and I really want to step in and bring up
No, of course.
point that you should really try to play this game with a friend or two. I think we've all at least started. I don't know about you, Aches, but we started, with a few friends to just kind of make things a little easier to be able to understand and not get too down on ourselves when we make a mistake, because it is a game of competitive nature. But to be able to understand it and learn the game, and to be able to understand like the fun qualities of why it's a fun game to keep playing, I think having friends to play the game with is a really important part, especially when you're first starting out, because you might pick a totally wrong champion for the wrong lane, and it won't go well for you because the game's not set up that way to be able to. Certain champions are optimized for different areas and different rules of the game. So to be able to have friends to kind of, even if you all pick the wrong roles, you can have fun together playing it. And I think that's the main thing that I want to convey to anyone new who is wanting to pick up the game, is that try to find some friends that would be interested, or reach out on an online forum for other new players who are learning the game as well. And when you're learning together, then when you do mop the floor with some nerds, then it's super hype. And if you want to keep learning about the game, there's so much online material about that. I suggested this to you, Goose, earlier, that to watch like some pro play, so that the casters actually really prompt a lot of different areas of the game and what is actually happening, and why certain parts of the game can be so interesting. So, for example, the Baron, getting the last hit on the Baron or Dragon, or when Ashe, hits her ult from across the map. That's super hype.
Yeah.
I don't know if she can do that anymore.
She can. Yeah.
Can? Okay.
Yeah, she can.
But certain different game mechanics and different aspects of the game become more fun when you learn about it. But to be able to have other people to learn with, I think, is a really important part. So that's why I definitely hopped on this train to be able to teach you about League of Legends, because I remember what it was like to be able to learn with my friends. So if this is something that you wanted to learn about, then I'm all for that. I would rather play this game with friends than solo queue all the time. So
you're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry over here.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's a
god!
big love fest over here.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel good. You know what? I've been feeling down a bit this week, so this made me feel good. This made me feel good.
That's good.
Oh no!
Yeah, incoming nerd transmission. Ethan, we're coming for you.
No, nerds, please, please, no. I'm one of you.
Ethan, who are you talking to?
all of a sudden, just another visual joke that maybe people probably won't.
You can watch all of our videos on YouTube/GamesMyGuy. Yeah,
Please do, because we sometimes do forget this is a podcast, and we just and when we can see each other being idiots, so we assume other people can.
Exactly.
But
yeah, it's a game that I think this is one of the only games that you can actually get better at it from just watching people play and like researching and like learning about items and item builds and character builds. It's one of the only, because it's when you boil it down, the game is just a big management simulator. It's like gold management. It's all about ward management, like vision management, minion management, like how you're controlling the lane, when you're hitting, when you're not hitting. So it's a game that you can get better just by researching and just learning about different abilities and stuff. But as it is always very important to play with friends. This is one of those games that is better with people. 100%. The solo queue experience is only fun if you're trying to climb, but if you're not trying to climb and you're trying to play, even climbing is better with friends, I would say. It's very much a social game for sure, because they're so long, right?
And I know people can be harsh if you're bad.
Yes, it is.
And like, that's
because it's
I've
because the
experienced.
game is so snowbally. So once you start losing, it's hard to stop. So it's very important to a lot of people that you play the way they think you should play. So
yes, this happened to me. Not so much. Yeah, thankfully, of course, since I've been playing with friends, I haven't experienced it too much, other than the occasional. I won't name land name, but other than I got chicken coming.
Yo, I got chicken. You know
But
who you are.
is he gone? But no, it's but like I experienced it. When I on like the first day of the Valorant beta, like not the first day when I first got in, like on like my second game, like this guy was like, "Yo, this guy sucks," and I was like, I typed in chat at the beginning, "I am bad. I'm going to apologize now." But two, dude, the game's like been out for 2 days.
Yeah,
and I've never played. Calm down.
Yeah.
So people need to chill out sometimes.
Yeah, Valorant is that game is a whole other episode, but it's very much like, it's so hyper competitive, and we're not even out of the beta yet. Like people are
game
talking.
Doesn't come out till
yeah.
The game comes out on Tuesday.
I agree. Like I haven't gotten a code yet, but like
once that patch, Landon and I need to have a conversation. He doesn't have a beta yet.
He doesn't. I have drops. In
he has drops. Why how do you not have a key yet?
Wait a second.
I thought this guy liked to clap nerds. Doesn't he have a key?
You have drops enabled?
I have drops.
Oh shit, he's listening in.
Oh my god.
He's listening in.
Guys, I think we should record like this when we're all really close. It's an ASMR one.
Let's just talk about.
Anyways.
Enough elitism.
Anyways.
Let's get back to the.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyways, well, I mean that's pretty much our episode right now.
We haven't talked about the pros yet.
It's true. I think we can slip in a bit of time for the pro scene.
Just a little bit. I know.
Yeah. So
I don't have a pro team yet, guys.
My Riot username is Penguin Perfect, and so that's all we need to say about the pro.
Yo, there's only one pro you need to know about.
We got Newt in the chat.
Oh man. Well, yeah. I mean the pro scene. I mean, it's going to be something that we're going to talk about future on the podcast.
Yes, I'd like to. I just wanted to touch on it real quick before we end, because I know when I'm like to self-describe, I believe the term is a ride or die fan. Like The team I support in the Overwatch League most has been through the shit time and time again. Scandals, yeah, no one's got us beat. Losing records, no one does beat. Winning records, very people surprisingly have us beat. And sometimes it's a very strange thing to follow along with. And so I'm really curious to see who will win my loyalty, who will win my devotion to buying jerseys.
Yeah, and it's our job to give you the most information that we can about the teams.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
But I think we'll talk about that next episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to see
for us to talk about the LCS at least. I think we'll start with the North American region just because I think that's the most palatable. But I guess the homework I would give Ethan is watch a game. Like even just watch it doesn't really
many VODs out there.
Yeah, it doesn't
so many VODs.
Watch one from like a current season. Like this past split would probably be a good one just to see what the current meta looks like and how the current game is played. But that's what I would say to you.
Wonderful. I will do so. I'll dip my toes in.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, that was the episode for Games My Guy. Penguin, Bryan, Land and Go, where can we get you if people want to see more of your music, or if they want, where can they see more Bryan Connel content? Give us the deets.
Okay, so I have been streaming on Twitch a lot more regularly now. I've been playing a lot of Rocket League, Apex Legends. I've been playing a lot of different games, but I've been just more there. So come stop by, say hi, say hey, drop a follow at twitch.tv/penguinperfect, and that's where you'll see me and interact with me the most.
Perfect. And Ethan, any last things to say before we close this puppy out?
I am very honored to be on this trip, this journey, this quest with some noble compatriots such as yourselves. I look forward to us entering the LCS and winning in at least 2 years.
Yeah, well, first you got to pick a role, buddy. That
will come after we win the trophy.
Of course.
He's gonna be a super minion.
You'll be a super minion.
I was going to say, I believe this is a 5v5 game. I will be the 7th player, so I will be there. Whenever the bench boy gets sick.
Perfect. All right. Well, we will see you next podcast.